Welcome to August Master Gardener Program Coordinator meeting. It's kind of crazy. I say that every month, but I just can't believe how fast time goes. So had a kid home for the summer and she's back at school. I got her last first day of school picture. She'll be done in May. So that's exciting. I have a few announcements. Update for program foundation relations, some infrastructure updates, have an idea for DEI, and this is a complete idea. I have not talked to the DEI team about this at all, so I want everybody to know just an idea. I have some updates for quality resources, some professional development thoughts, and then really nothing for telling our story this month. Before I get into it, I want to make sure that you all know and you have seen that Dean Powers submitted her resignation from her position as Dean of the College of Agriculture and Human Natural Resource Sciences. For me, that was a pretty hard thing for me to hear. Dean Powers has been a wholehearted supporter of our Extension Master Gardener program. She came into the Dean role as somebody who was already a proponent of the Master Gardener program and had worked with Master Gardeners in other institutions. She came in at a time when we were celebrating our 50th anniversary, so she just jumped right in and was very supportive, and in my estimation, we were really lucky to have her. But we're going to get a new leader, and we don't really know who that's going to be. I don't know anything about how that person's going to be selected yet. None of us do, as far as I know. I'm sure I know people are working on it. I'm just not part of that, right? But I want to make sure that our program is well situated for the future. It's important for us to be able to, continue on that telling our story work and making sure that we are indeed able to tell that compelling and impactful story, for public value, right? So I guess I'm telling you this because I think it is also important for you to look at volunteers in your respective counties. Dean Powers met many volunteers in our counties through the 50th anniversary celebrations, has communicated with them on various occasions. I think maybe she even may have been on the most recent legislative tour and maybe met some of them there. Many of our volunteers receive the communications out of the dean's office, and so they know that she's resigned. So whenever we get a new leader in any sort of organization, it can cause some like, oh, what's going on, and we start to get a little worried, or I don't know if worried's the right word, but we start to get a little antsy, like wonder what's happening, what's coming down the pike. And so it might be something that you want to communicate with your volunteers, say we're aware of it at the program coordinator level and state program level, and we're in a good position. We will continue working on telling our story, and ask them to stay the course on the telling our story work. Rumors can get started, and I just want to make sure that we're ahead of it in communicating with volunteers about her impending departure, which is June 2025. So we have some time. But any questions about that? All right, so Kathy Lamoureux and Debbie Bembo have been working hard behind the scenes on the Advanced Education Conference. and it is virtual this year. So we're not going to need as many volunteers as normal to make the 2 days of the event go. But we do need some session hosts. And Kathy and Debbie have asked me to let you know about this and also communicate out to your volunteers in an effort to recruit hosts. So here, this is kind of outlines what the hosts will do. Each session is, 75 minutes. 15 minutes of Q&A is included in that. A session host must be registered for the conference, so if they're not registered, they cannot sign up. Session hosts will be provided with the speakers' bios via email about 1 week prior to the conference, so they'll be able to introduce the speaker, monitor the Q&A, and conduct Q&A with the speaker. We have Live Oak is the tech team who is managing the entire Zoom for the conference. And so somebody from that team will reach out to that volunteer session host and kind of to learn what the process is there. The volunteer may need to interrupt the speaker, right, if they're going over time, or remind them of how much time they have left, and then thank the speaker at the end of the presentation. So we'd appreciate some help in recruitment, and we're recruiting through GivePulse. The event has been created and it has been cloned to all of your county GivePulse pages. And volunteers can get at that in one of 2 ways. So if they sign in to their, or go to their GivePulse group page, right? Scroll down and then they can click on the event. In this case, it's called the PSAEC 2024 Session Host Volunteers. And once they click into the event, they'll be able to see the shifts that are open over the 2-day event. Alternatively, if your program group on GivePulse has the events listed in calendar view, they can do it this way. Every county has it set up a little bit different. And so if it's calendar view, this is what it looks like. They still go to their group, GivePulse, their GivePulse group, and scroll down, find the calendar of events, and it looks like this. The blue are the shifts that are available, and the gray ones are the shifts that are full. There's only 11 slots, so we don't need a lot, but we'd certainly appreciate some help in recruiting. We need volunteers to sign up by September 4. I'm also going to share this during tomorrow's Staying Mission Driven. Any questions? Debbie, do you have anything to add?
Just that Live Oak has offered to have a kind of a training session ahead of the conference for anybody that volunteers to host.
Okay. So there was a request to have this shared via email. I don't have an email written. I was given this information. Could we write an email, Debbie, out to the coordinators to help with recruitment?
Oh, of course.
Yeah, okay. And then Alice said, 10 slots. So people are seeing it and volunteering. Okay. Next is the Northwest Flower and Garden Festival 2025. This year, or next year, 2025, is the festival will not be on Valentine's Day weekend, so that's good. They pushed it back a week. My husband was getting kind of tired of me being gone on Valentine's Day, so it'll be good to have it separate. But again, we need your help in recruiting, and I do have an email that I'll send out to you for this one. But we need your help in recruiting volunteers to engage with attendees at the show. This year's our participation this year will have a theme of, well, imagine this, gardening in a changing climate. We're going to keep up with that theme, and the booth will have learning stations that offer research-based actions guests can take in their own gardens to mitigate the effects of climate change and create resilient landscapes. So we're really looking for top-notch plant clinicians. There will be a plant clinic, just like there was last year. So we're looking for top-notch plant clinicians and volunteers who can represent our program in a professional way and who truly enjoy visiting with guests. We're getting an early start this time. We have some lessons that we've learned over the last couple of years in recruiting volunteers to work at the show or to give their time at the show. Volunteering at the festival is a sought after gig, so to speak. And because it's so sought after, it can cause unintended, uncomfortable consequences, I guess. So like I said, we're trying to get an early start to mitigate for that and move away learn from those lessons. So some of those things that we've learned, some of the things that have happened, some of the things that we've learned, right? So some of the things that have happened is that volunteers have a perception that we make our selections based on a first come, first served basis. And that doesn't allow for volunteers who are working full-time or volunteers who are otherwise not sitting at their computers all day waiting for opportunities to come across their screens. So it doesn't allow those folks an opportunity to volunteer. And that is upsetting to those other volunteers who are not chosen. There's a perception that we handpick, that we go directly to only the people or our favorites that we want to volunteer. So, every county's kind of done it a little bit differently, but the perception of handpicking really caused some issues for coordinators last year and for our volunteers who are managing the volunteers at the show and trying to get the volunteers slotted into shifts. So I'm suggesting, that we have, put it out to everybody with the position descriptions, and I have everything ready for you, but you recruit using that, but put a deadline for response. And if you get more response than you need, make sure that you also communicate how you will make that selection to the volunteers. So if you get, because what I need is a list of 6 volunteers from you. So let's say you get 10 and they're all well qualified. How will you make your selection from that? Maybe it's just throwing their names in a hat and making this, pulling their names out. Or maybe it's, well, you've volunteered the last 2 years at the festival. Let's give somebody else a turn. But be sure to have that criteria set up ahead of time and communicate it out to volunteers. Another option, some counties are probably going to have way more than 6, right? Some counties won't have 6. But a way that to help you make your selections is to ask the interested volunteers to write a short letter of interest describing why they want to volunteer and how their specific skills and abilities match up with the position descriptions. I know that's a lot to ask of a volunteer, but I think it will, help make sure that we have the volunteers who are truly interested in volunteering at the show.
Jennifer,
Uh-huh.
are you gonna touch on this tomorrow at the Mission Driven?
I am.
Okay.
Yeah. Thanks, Beth. Let's see. Yeah, so offer shifts to volunteers maybe who haven't volunteered in the past. I don't know what other ideas you may have. Any other ideas that you've thought about that you willing to share?
I think for Whatcom County, we don't have a lot of experience with being at the show. We did send volunteers, but I personally think it is tough to, you want to get the right people in that role, right? And
Right.
and everyone has a different opinion of what the right person is or what the
Yeah.
right delivery of things are. So I know that I really feel strongly about clinicians being a pretty strong
Yeah.
group. I guess that's a pretty obvious statement, but yeah, going with your strong clinicians as the first tier.
Mhm.
Um,
Thanks, Beth. So I'm going to send the recruitment letter to you, but that recruitment letter doesn't include all the the ideas for how you will actually manage the recruitment, the criteria that you will use when communicating with volunteers about how they'll be selected. I want to leave that up to you all. I just want to make sure that you're thinking about it so that we can avoid some of the issues that happened last year and the year before. And I'm asking you for 6 volunteers that match up with the skills and abilities. And once I get those 6 from you, I will slot them into the shifts based on the list that you send me. Just because you send me a list of 6 does not mean that all 6 of those people will get a shift. We'll look and see if they volunteered in the years past. We're going to really work at making sure that we have a good cross section of highly skilled volunteers, but also who have worked the show in the past, because I think it's good to have that experience. But we also want to make sure we have volunteers who haven't worked the show in the past. So I'll get this sent out to you, and then I need this all back from you by October 15th. So there's time. Like I said, we're trying to get ahead of it. Okay. In July, we talked about a little bit about safety training. We have a lot of trainings available to end that are required for employees through Precipio. Some of our safety policy, the WSU, environmental health safety policies, like outdoor worker policy, extends to volunteers, heat, and smoke. And we talked when we talked in Ellensburg, we want to do everything we can to keep our volunteers safe from harm while giving their time and talents to WSU, but we know that we cannot expect volunteers to adhere to the same level of trainings as we are as employees. It's too much. So where's the common ground? I'm trying to get a good list based on your input, and input from environmental health and safety. And nationally, there's a my counterpart in Maine has sent a risk management survey. She's wondering what other states do for training volunteers in risk management. So I haven't seen the results yet, but I think that once we do get those results, it will be helpful and help, informing our work in this area. I have if I can get it to launch. I have where is it? I have a poll. And I'm asking, it's 3 questions, and I'm asking you, what is the number 1 safety training we must offer to volunteers? The second question, what is the second most? And the third question is the third most important safety training. So I'm hoping that you can answer this for me. If you need some time to think about it, that's fine. Send me an email of the top 3. But we know that slips, trips, and falls are the leading cause of our accidents. So I would imagine something around that. What about ladder safety, pruner safety? What to do in the case of an emergency? Unfortunately, a volunteer in another state fell, and I don't know the details of it, but she died from her injuries this year. And so these are just things what would you do? What do our volunteers know what to do in that situation? So what is it that we need to do? So Jim, are you on here? I think I saw you come in. Do you want to add anything?
No, that's a good overview. We review incident reports that come in from counties through EH&S, Environmental Health and Safety, and our Connor Safety Committee. And we are interested in knowing what you think are those important training areas, because slips, trips, and falls are certainly among the top injuries for the entire university, and especially for the Master Gardener program. The other thing I'm concerned about is that our coordinators, lead volunteers, whomever, aren't sure how to report an incident, or if an incident needs to be reported. So that's something we will gear up with a PowerPoint, and we would like that to be presented at Master Gardener training and part of the housekeeping that you do in explaining the program, because every volunteer needs to feel safe and know what to do in case of an emergency.
Right.
Jennifer?
Uh-huh.
I think starting to do this is the most important priority for me, because once people start getting trained, they'll be aware of safety situations, and it'll create their own desire to be informed and educated and careful.
Right. I was looking back at pictures, to put on this slide. It kind of depicts the idea, and I found a picture of volunteers working on installing the garden in Chelan County, and they were volunteers driving tractors and moving boulders. I'm like, oh my goodness, I'm so glad nothing ever happened during that time. All right, did everybody get a chance to respond to I can leave it up for a few more minutes and we can keep moving forward. Oops. And this next slide, for whatever reason, takes a long time to load. Okay. Make sure it's going to stick. All right. right. So the next piece is about program foundation relations. I think y'all know we are and have been working on since really 2018 on realigning our WSU Extension Master Gardener volunteers with the work of the program and WSU Extension, the internal facing vision, cohesive statewide program of highly trained, competent, and engaged volunteers who know and understand their connection to Washington State University. You know, there's more bullets there for myself, but that's the big one. And so this is, you know, we've been working at this for a long time. Historically, for many years in many counties, the foundations were, and in some cases still are, they feel like they run the program. They are the program, and there's not a good understanding of the difference. Now we are, since 2018, I guess for lack of a better way of saying it, trying to take it back. I don't know if that's the right way to say it, but that's resonates with me. And there's a big disconnect in some counties between what WSU expects of the partnership with their foundations and between what the foundation expects the relationship with WSU to look like. We are making significant progress on this, and I think that's, you know, due to you and the efforts that you are putting in with your local foundations. It is also with the support of the State Foundation Board. They've been extremely helpful in realigning and training new boards and new volunteers. And then also with the support of Vicky and Wendy. So, you know, WSU, what you see here, you know, is in front of you is kind of how WSU expects and understands the relationship. You know, WSU trains the volunteers to be community educators on horticulture and environmental stewardship. And WSU sees the volunteers as, you know, WSU Extension Master Gardener volunteers delivering that education. And then we also see the foundations, WSU sees the foundations as partners, and the foundations support the program through fundraising. They provide the money for the activities of the WSU Extension Master Gardener program. But there are some foundations who see their role to be much more broad than that. For example, oftentimes foundations see their role as direct delivery of education or gifting money to other outside entities. This disconnect between our expectations and foundation expectations, I'm not going to say it causes blurred lines. There are blurred lines regardless, but I think it does, you know, it makes those lines harder to be bright. In those blurred lines, you know, we're mostly all the same people wearing different hats, and it's hard to know which hat is worn when. And the incongruencies in foundation documentation, structure, process, and practice, and then the lack of program documentation in some cases for, you know, documentation, structure, process, and practice allows for those lines to be even more blurred, causing confusion, angst, and sometimes conflict. I am bringing this to your attention now again because we are in the middle of an important step in this long and continuing process of reconnecting volunteers to WSU. and to clearing up those blurred lines and confusing expectations between WSU and the local foundations. This major step includes engaging with a specific foundation to ensure that their legal and guiding documents are in alignment with WSU expectations and vice versa. So we're talking about articles of incorporation. We're talking about bylaws. We're talking about mission statements. We're talking about standard operating procedures that the foundations have for themselves. Oftentimes, those documents are not in alignment with what we think they should be. And then the MOA that the foundations have with WSU, that MOA is incongruent with their guiding documents, the foundation bylaws and the foundation operating procedures. And so that also causes, confusion. Who's supposed to be doing what and when? And when people are confused, people get antsy and they get, they feel unsure and unnerved. And so the specific engagement that we're doing is causing some upset among volunteers and the foundation board. And we all know now that word travels pretty darn fast, right? I'm not sure if you're hearing anything about what's happening or if you will hear anything about what's happening. But if you do, or your volunteers come to you or you hear, rumblings of things and you, are unsure, I ask you to come directly to me and I will explain more. The work that we're doing, it's not easy, but it will be beneficial in the long run. We are being very careful. We're thinking very strategically and working in the best interests of the Master Gardener program. I want you to know I'm not trying to be secretive or elusive here. I just want you to be aware that there are some actions being taken. And if you hear from volunteers, or if there are rumblings, know that they probably don't have the whole story and you probably don't have the whole story. So a response back might be something like, I am aware that WSU is taking some strategic action in an effort to effectively serve our mission and work toward our vision. And the work is not easy and can sometimes cause concern. I know WSU is acting in the best interest of the program. And then finally, I want to remind you that the State Foundation and the Master Gardener program developed a training on program foundation relations. And Tana and I are willing to come to you in person or visit, via Zoom and walk with you and your foundation board through that training, all with the purpose of developing a mutual beneficial relationship. Questions, thoughts?
I'm a board member as well as a program assistant.
Yeah.
And it makes it very difficult. I actually don't like hearing this. And I imagine this is probably the biggest complaint. We work very hard with our coordinator to help him plan programs, collect, raise money. And we've worked really hard on getting our policies and procedures and our bylaws to the point where it's very supportive of our county. And I can't imagine what this is going to do. And I'm not happy about it, but that's the way it goes, I guess.
Well, Alice, this isn't, it's about a very specific county, right? And
I'm sorry, I missed that.
this is about a very specific county. And I'm telling you about it because I want you to be able to respond if you hear things that are going on. Right? It's not, if don't know what's going on, it means you're fine.
Okay, the only reason I said that is because, you know, the blurred lines and stuff, and I keep hearing that from people I talk to. And it's not like that in our county, although it sure looks like it from the outside. So, okay, thank you.
Yeah, no, I'm very aware of how things operate in Cowlitz County and no concerns. Yeah.
Oh, I'm so glad to hear that. Thank you.
Jennifer, if you and at some point could record your presentation with Tana so that it would be available to our new trainees for them to watch. I know because like you did it for our board, but the
Yeah.
fact is where our boards are going to change over and it's like obviously not having to redo it all over again. It'd be nice just to have a standalone of you guys doing the presentation where we could have the new board members do it, but also having helpful for the trainees coming in would be nice.
Yeah, so when you say trainees, so new boards, right? So
Yeah.
not for the
Yes.
new trainees, but for a new board.
Correct.
Right.
Yes.
Right,
Yeah.
right, right.
Sorry.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's yeah, Tana and I have talked about getting a recording done. We were gonna try to get it done with Live Oak this year, but it's not gonna happen. But we will definitely get it done. Yeah.
I'm just anticipating the board, half of our board changes over, half doesn't. And so that
Yeah.
again, like the new guys, then not having to take your time to do it again. We'll do it on our own, but still to see that and preference of those joint new meetings together would be helpful.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a great idea. So is this a response you want us to say for situations when the topic comes up? Yes. So thank you for clarifying. So this is a informational only. If you don't know about what's going on, you don't need to worry about it. But I want you to know what's going on to the extent so that you can respond. And the respond could be something like, I'm aware that WSU is taking action in an effort to effectively serve our mission and our vision. This work is not easy and can sometimes cause concern. I know and trust that WSU is acting in the best interest of the program.
Jennifer, I have a question.
Uh-huh.
So a lot of Whatcom County board members and volunteers will ask, you know, what do other foundation relationships look like across the state? And I would love for that to be an agenda item, or maybe it has, to hear from other counties about what those relationships look like and how we can learn from each other. I sometimes feel like I don't know, and I want to learn those other tools that others are using, be it, you know, good or bad, I guess.
Good. Okay.
I concur with that. I think our board is trying very hard to get on a really good path, but I
Mhm.
think having some tools to kind of do a self-assessment and say if you're doing these things, you're going in a good direction would be very helpful to them, because this
sort of like
seeing this makes it feel like there's a bit of a guessing game. Like maybe you're not good enough, or maybe your board's not going the way it needs to. And I think having something solid that they can sort of use on their own as a tool would be helpful.
yeah, that's like having what I think about what Sarah for the DEI team, the work that Luz Maria has done, right? So having the different levels of DEI work, right? So you get earn a star for this or a star for that. The criteria, right? Do you remember? I can't quite recall what that was about. The badge system or something.
The ribbon system.
The ribbon
Yeah.
system, yeah, so not a ribbon system per se, but a list of important things, right, that foundations should consider, yeah, to have in place, okay. That's a good idea, visit with Tana about that. Okay. Yeah, I apologize. I know this feels a little bit like a guessing game. And I debated on whether or not to even have this conversation with you all today. But I want to reiterate that this is very specific with a specific county foundation relationship. And I'm not going to call that out. I don't want to go that direction today. And much of this is personnel related in terms, not employee. I want to make that very clear, not employee, but volunteer personnel related. And so much of that is confidential. But it is causing some significant upset. And I want you all to have some knowledge so that you can respond and not go, oh, I have no idea what's happening, right? Because that doesn't look good for us either. So I apologize that it feels that way. I'm really trying to inform and give you the information that you need. Okay. All righty. Infrastructure. We've been working hard on both our websites and the MS365 idea. So our websites, I know Pierce County has already started working on, and maybe theirs is live, but using the templates and getting their site up to date. And I asked Caitlin if she would be willing to talk about her experience with using the templates and updating the website. Caitlin.
Yes, Pierce we're currently awaiting accessibility checks and we're in the queue, I think, to go live. So our site is not live quite yet, but it should be live within the next 2 weeks. Jennifer, can I share?
Oh, sure.
Pretty quick. Okay. So just a very brief what the process looked like for us. We started this process back in April. So we started out with a meeting with all of the programs in our county. So that was us, 4-H, SNAP Ed, FNEP, and our director. And I kind of became the go-to person just because I inherited a site that all had outdated information and I knew that we had to go through this migration. So I was kind of motivated to get our migration underway. So I kind of accidentally became the point person, but it all worked out because we have a volunteer in our county who was really kind of supporting all of the back end work. So in that meeting, we went through the Connors Web Team checklist to get our site to a place where it's ready to migrate. Then in July is when we scheduled a meeting with Sarah Schaub and her Connors Web Team. And she kind of just outlined our options of how migration can go. So we opted to go with an option where the Connors Web Team migrated all of the pages of our website except for the Master Gardener pages. And that was because a volunteer and I went ahead and used the Master Gardener templates that have been created for us. And essentially that was just cost saving for the county. So we did all of the work to migrate those pages. So we didn't have to hire the Connors team to migrate those for us. And then over about a 3-week time frame, that volunteer and I worked on updating those templates. we had multiple check-ins throughout that time. So we had about 5 Zoom sessions where we just kind of worked together to figure out who's taking this page, who's taking this page. And like I said, we're now in that final stage of getting our website checked for accessibility. And I'll go ahead and show you what that actually looks like when you're populating the templates. Okay, so essentially what it will look like is you're going to have all of the templates that Mike and Debbie and their team have built for us. So for example, all of these templates, MG Home, the About page, the educational outreach, they have created the framework for everything. And then it's our job to just go in and make the updates to the text and the photos that are going to be specific to our county. So if I go in and click edit on MG Home, just thinking. Essentially our job is just to go in and edit it and swap out. For example, this was a stock photo that the template had, and I went in and I changed it to a photo specifically for Pierce County. I went in and I updated all the text where it said insert county name here. And then any place where there are the short code snippets, that is essentially things that we don't have to touch. So they're going to be managed from the statewide level, which you'll find that on a lot of the pages, there are those snippets that we don't have to do anything for. And if we go to, I'll kind of just show you what it'll look like in the end. So this is the site that how it looks in the final product. Again, I just went in and I switched out any of the text and photos. We added in our own events. These are all things, again, that are in the template. So I didn't have to do the layout for this. It's all there. You just go in and you customize it to your county. And then these things are all things that are kind of filled in at the state level. So I didn't add any of these things. They all were just there existing for us. And just kind of another example. So the educational outreach page, swapped out this cover photo, added in our name, and then they have this layout here where they do Ask a Master Gardener, and all of this text is already filled in for you. So if you want to customize it, you can, but it really comes with a lot of kind of already ready to go packages. So it's just a matter of plugging in specific information and photos. And I did find that working with a volunteer on this was key for us. I would say that the volunteer probably did 60 to 75% of the work on this, and I did about the other 25%. So as you are working on this project, I do recommend trying to recruit some volunteers that have those skills that can be helpful. But yeah, we should have our site live in a couple weeks. So once it is live, you can feel free to go look at the Pierce site and just kind of check out all of the pages and what they look like. Are there any questions?
Caitlin, that's awesome. This is Beth from Whatcom. And so when you say that this is the migration to the new platform, correct? And
yeah, so it's a new version of WordPress.
Right,
so all of your old pages will still exist while you are working on these new pages. So I just pulled everything from the old pages. It's not like they go away. It's really just a new look and feel.
All right, so you've kind of defaulted to the IT web person in your county, or is that your part of your role? Yeah.
Yeah, so we have a volunteer who's particularly skilled in this area. So he's kind of really been driving a lot of the.
Can you share his name? Because I think he helped with our Whatcom web team recently. What is his name?
It's Mike Peranto. You've probably heard his name.
Okay, all right. And then the other quick question was accessibility. Our web person here on staff has said that all the PDF, everything needs to be accessible. I'm blanking on the term, right? For vision
Yes.
accessibility. Yeah. Is that something that's part of the template or?
So, yes, they're discouraging PDFs to be directly on the website. And so kind of our plan right now is we have a lot of our documents either behind the password protected page in the internal portal. But our ultimate goal is that once we have MS-365 up and running, all of our PDFs and documents will live in that. And then we'll just have a link on our website that will go to that site where all of those files will be hosted.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Linda.
So when you we've been concerned about the cost that they're charging per page. So when you said that you had them migrate everything except the Master Gardener pages, does that mean you didn't have to pay for those?
That's correct. Yeah, we essentially
Oh, that's awesome.
we went ahead and deleted any pages that we knew across all of our programs in the county that we didn't need, so that we didn't have to pay for the cost of those. But yes, the whole reason that we populated these templates ourselves was so that we didn't hire Connors to do the migration of Master Gardeners.
Awesome. Again, thank you for the people who made the templates. They're amazing.
That was Debbie, Craig, and Mike with my help by saying, yes, that looks good, or no, don't do it like that. That's all I did. Yep. Yes, no. Yes, no.
I don't remember where we get the templates.
Yeah, I was just looking on my slide deck to see if I have that on here. Debbie, do you remember? Is it just a direct email to Sarah?
Yes, yeah,
Sarah Schaub in the Connors Web team.
right.
Yeah, so
Okay.
once they initiate your county's migration, they will send you a link to basically the back end of this, and you'll have the templates there through that link that they send you.
So, sorry,
Sarah's
one more question.
information.
So, but they let you keep the old pages so you can do copy paste of text though, right?
That's correct.
Okay, thanks.
So one other comment is any counties where the foundation has created a UFW page, you have a group of volunteers that are already knowledgeable in the same WordPress platform. So those would be good volunteers to tap into to help you with that migration.
Nice tip. All right. Thanks, Caitlin. I think that was helpful for people to see like actually what happened there. So infrastructure, I want, we showed the video in July, and then a number of you had questions. We're reviewing those questions at the team level, and some of those questions have been answered. And a couple of them the team met directly with the coordinator and volunteers who are interested in moving forward with this MS-365. And the team thought that that was really helpful. And so I wanted to make sure that we offered one-on-one meetings with the team, with you and volunteers in your county. And these meetings, you don't have to even know what your questions are yet, right? I mean, we know that this is kind of out there. And so if you have broad questions, great. If you have specific questions, great. Or you're not even sure where to start, that's okay. Because the team is well skilled in SharePoint and MS-365 and can help guide your thoughts and thinking and help answer the questions you didn't even know you needed to ask. So if you're interested in a meeting with this team, go ahead and email the MG support MS-365 at wsumastergardeners.org. Okay, here's the DEI piece. This is the idea that I have not even run by the DEI team. But I know that there are a number of counties who have their own DEI teams. And we have our state DEI team. Land acknowledgements have recently been a topic of conversation. Every county is kind of creating their own specific land acknowledgement. I'm sure that there are other activities and trainings that the various DEI teams are doing. And what about a sync up? I know that we have the state team, but I'm wondering about, getting the state DEI or the county DEI teams kind of in a room together rather than all these different things happening. I don't know how we'd manage it. But I'm wondering about that idea. Just an idea. Not trying to usurp anything. It was an idea that I had and I thought, let's throw it out there.
Jennifer, are you suggesting in addition to their regular local meetings, or are you talking about merging all of them?
Probably in addition, but
Okay.
I don't know. I haven't really even thought it through, right? I mean, maybe it's just a quarterly sync up and it's just, one person from each team that comes together and they share ideas and thoughts on what they're doing, or maybe it's more often. I don't know. But
I think it'd be a great idea to once a quarter do a sync up.
yeah,
I think the counties are individual enough that, like, I would still want to have my own local county team
yeah,
doing our
absolutely.
own local stuff, but I think the idea of cross-pollinating ideas would be outstanding.
Yeah.
Jennifer, I think it's really important for DEI to have a grassroots element that comes from people wanting to do it, but it's equally important for teams to feel supported at a higher level.
Yeah.
So I think a meetup it would tell people that this is a priority for the entire state extension master gardener program.
Good feedback, yeah. Go ahead, Tim.
I think it would be a great idea I would love to get my county team connected to some other county teams, because I think they feel like they're lost and are not sure what to do sometimes, or they keep hitting roadblocks. And just the idea that, yeah, we're all a little bit lost and we all hit roadblocks occasionally. Just the idea of maybe connecting with some other volunteers who can share that or give them some support, I guess. And I know that with the plant clinic team, we met once or twice and then decided from there, do we want to keep meeting and how often do we want to meet? And so maybe the volunteers themselves would kind of drive that. Do we want to meet quarterly, or maybe we all got together and we don't want to meet again, or I don't know.
Right. Okay, so how about if I don't know if Tessa's on here or not, but I can bring this to the DEI team and we can kind of talk it through and figure out how we want to move it forward. Sound like a plan? Okay. And I saw a question, if we don't have a local DEI team, can we still be included? Absolutely. I mean, I think that would be an important piece, yeah. All right, spring 2025 basic training. So that's the January training, right? There will not be changes to the LMS for spring 2025. That means Canvas, right? So we're going to be using Canvas in spring 2025. We're still working with AOI on what that LMS might look like for fall 2025 and spring 2026. Hoping to have more updates for you in October, because we're not meeting in September. I will be at my daughter's wedding. And so, but I also want to let you know about the application update last month or month before, I think. I can't remember now. We went through the new application. We made changes to the application in an attempt to remove barriers to participation. The DEI team did that. That new application can be found in the Teams folder, in a Word document or a fillable PDF. It is now available in Qualtrics as well. So Debbie put it all into Qualtrics, and also has the approved optional questions uploaded into Qualtrics so that you can add those questions in if you want to. So some of the benefits of having it in Qualtrics, it allows applicants to start their application and then leave it and use that same link to go back in to this where they left off. I don't know how that works, but it does. We tested it a few different times. Because it's not a unique link. It's just a link, but somehow the little mices in the background keep track of it for us. The wires that get crossed everywhere. I don't know, the virtual wires. And then it also allows for you to export the responses into Excel. And for larger counties who are receiving lots and lots of applicants, it makes it much, much easier for them to review the responses. And then it also facilitates the separation of the demographic data so that it's not part of the review process. So Debbie did a quick, let's see, I better share my computer sound.
We can edit the fillable that's on Teams if we choose.
You can add the questions to it.
Okay,
right?
and then put the word Wacom in there, like it's
Yep.
okay, all right, thank you.
Yeah. So here's it's just a quick video on how to get that one from Qualtrics. Let me know if you can hear it. Is it gonna go? Hello. Today I'm gonna show you how to
Turn it up a little.
from the Master Gardener library in Qualtrics. So the first thing that you want to do is go to the menu and go to catalog. And then you click on survey. And on the right-hand side, get started. You're going to name your project. And then choose a folder in your own projects to save it to. And in this case, I created a folder called application. And then you have an option of creating a blank survey, but what we're going to do today is use one from the library. So click on that and then choose the Master Gardener library and select a survey. And you'll notice a lot of surveys in here. The program priorities are all set up with surveys that you can use, but we are going to go down until we find the application to the Master Gardener program. And you'll see that there are two in here. The optional approved questions is one just for reference, so you can create a survey for that just so that you have that information. But in this case, we're going to create the application. So we'll click on this, create project. And then once you have your survey, if there are additional questions that you'd like to add, you would just click on one of the blocks, import from library, go to the application to the EMG program in the Master Gardener library. And you'll see a folder that says additional questions. So if you click on that, all of the approved questions have been created in blocks. So you can go through these. If say you want emergency contact information, click on that and insert question.
Ugh.
And it always puts those questions to the bottom of the survey. So you'll have to navigate to that point and then just move your block up to where you want it. If you have any questions, don't hesitate to reach out to me. Thank you. Hello.
All right, any questions for that?
I'm curious how many people are using the fillable and how many are gonna use this Qualtrics for your applications?
I don't know. Good question.
I don't wanna take too much time, but
I'm pretty certain that
Yeah.
King and Pierce are gonna use Qualtrics.
yeah.
I don't know about the others.
I know on the Pierce site, it's great because even the inquiry portion, like, oh, I'm interested in becoming a master gardener, has a nice Qualtrics, which is super easy to
Mhm.
pull contact info from.
I'm hoping that we can use it if I can talk Gary into it. It's a wonderful idea.
Yeah, I think it'll make it a lot easier. I agree, Sarah. Wholeheartedly. Debbie Bembo's a rock star. Okay, I also wanted to remind you, quality resources wise, about the Urban and Community Tree Stewards online course. Please help advertise that out. Make sure your volunteers know about it as continuing education. When you get requests from people in your counties for additional education, make sure they know that this is available. Can be found on our website, statewide website. And then professional development, I wanted to remind you about Percipio, right? There's a lot of information for us on Percipio. Some of those trainings are required for us to do as employees. Some are not, but you'll find like lots of great tips for conflict management, leadership, diversity, equity, and inclusion, effective communication, and so on. And all kinds, from books you can read to, PowerPoints you can go through. So it's podcasts you can listen to. I think research papers, and there's all kinds of stuff there. I found a podcast separately from Percipio when I was out traveling last week. I like to listen when I'm driving down the road to podcasts. So this one is from Toby Johnson. She's a certified volunteer administrator and experienced nonprofit manager. And she has a podcast called Volunteer Nation. Some of her recent what do they call them? I guess podcasts on recruitment or volunteer matching. And she has an interesting take on that. Benefits of volunteering, leading volunteers, and much, much more. So I found it on Apple Podcasts. Gardening in a changing climate. It's not too late to register. I think we have 465 registrations. Debbie, anything to add there?
No, just a reminder that Master Gardeners get $10 off on their registration. So I did send out a couple of flyers this past week One is geared more for the public to maybe print and post around town or have at events. And the other could be emailed to master gardeners. We heard from a couple of master gardeners that had not heard about the conference, which
Wow.
I'm not sure what hole they live in, but
Well, when we're so deep into it, it's hard to think that somebody doesn't know about it.
yeah.
Okay. So our next meeting is October 23rd, 2024. Let's see, question, Diane, can volunteer coordinators access Percipio? You can, I believe you can with your WSU credentials. You have to use your WSU credentials to do that, but you should have access.
Oh, I have a question.
Uh-huh.
And this, apologies if it's already been discussed. Is the new curriculum up for the spring 2025?
No.
Okay, so that's what you touched on in that earlier slide.
Yeah, and I was just, we talked about it a lot in the July meeting.
Okay, sorry, I wasn't there. Okay.
Yeah, right. I think that feels, that's why I was thinking like,
Yeah, no, my bad. All right, I'll go look back at the notes. Thanks.
Beth, there weren't really notes from the July
No.
meeting. It's okay. Because
We
it was
just didn't, it's just not gonna be ready. I've had so many people ask and
yeah, it's not gonna be ready until 2026.
No worries, sounds good. All right, thanks.
All right, yep. So thanks, Alice. 2025 annual certification. I did not cover it. I was hoping to have more information to share with you on it, but I don't right now. We're working on the annual certification application. But there won't be any big changes to it. So, but we should have this survey available for coordinators to grab out of GivePulse. Hopefully by the middle of September. So you can start getting it ready for your specific county.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Jennifer, is there somewhere available like a bullet points for the features for the MS 365 or the the what it will do for us?
Yeah. So I sent it out to the coordinator list in July. And it's
Okay.
a PowerPoint presentation, right? It's the one that I shared with you then, so it has all of that in there.
Okay, I'll take a look.
And then
I'm sure I have it.
I'm trying to remember if the video, I think I uploaded the video to Teams. So it shows you kind of what is available there. If you can't find it, let me know, Amy, and I'll
Okay.
get it over to you.
I'm sure that I just need to look for it. Thank you.
Yep. Anything else for the good of the group?
Jennifer?
Uh-huh.
So the July e-news, which is where you sent that out, when
Yeah,
I click on the link to get the PowerPoint, I get 404.
that's what it was. And so I was trying to remember what happened there, Mary. That's why I was like, what happened? And so I did upload it to Teams. So it's on Teams, Amy.
Great. Thank you.
Sure, in the infrastructure channel.
Okay.
Thanks for the reminder, Mary. All right, so staying mission driven in the morning. Hopefully I'll see some of you there. If not, I'll see you on the flip side. Enjoy the rest of your day, and our next meeting is in October.
Thank you, Jennifer.
Thank you.
Thank you. Goodbye.
Thanks, bye.